have to say this because I started The Walking Dead when it premiered on AMC, and I remember just noticing you and being like, this is going to sound really obnoxious, and like I'm trying to sign you or something like that. But I
I'll
was
take
like,
it. I'll take all this. Thank you.
5%.
Yeah,
Everyone
all
else
right.
is
I
taking
got you.
10.
Oh, that's not bad. I'll take that. Okay.
I only need
5%.
5%.
All right.
And then we'll talk about 10.
Yeah. How much did you know about The Last of Us?
I didn't know about the game when they got in touch with me about the project. I hadn't heard of it, but I learned like immediately what it was, what the context was. The first thing that came to me were just the scripts written by Craig Mazin, and I should have assumed that it was connected to some serious IP because the world was like immediately present and really rich and cool, and I was like, this story is amazing.
I saw a man kill his own brother to save her while I just watched. And today I thought that dog was gonna tear her apart because it smelled something on her.
And my nephews were like, it's a video game, you idiot. It's amazing. If you don't do it, we won't talk to you anymore.
I feel weirdly connected to you in a multitude of ways, but one is when I was shooting a show that is kind of spiritually connected to your show, Walking Dead. I remember I don't remember what season it was, but the game came out, and I remember I played it 12 hours straight.
Really?
Down to that last, I don't know if you've played it, but
this is part 1.
Yeah, where you just push the characters forward as they're having that last beautiful scene you have.
Are you serious?
Yeah, nothing happens, you just walk through the forest.
You've told me more about the game than the creator of the video game.
Oh no, it was beautiful. I remember finishing it and then coming to set the next day being like catatonic, just like, guys, I just experienced something.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're saying that you get to a certain point, but you still have to basically play, but you're not fighting anything or looking for anything. You're just having them
moving.
But it's not a scene in the video game. You actually have to.
You have to control the person, and you just walk through the forest.
You must have been imagining that.
In real time. It was amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then to see you play that, I'll pivot right now away from the thing, because for me, I want to gush about you. I think you're so immense and incredible. You fall into your characters in a way that I think is so gracious. Is it the right word?
I'll take it. I love the word gracious.
Yeah. What a joy to have a scene partner that was immersed in the role and the moment and the space with you. That those are the blessings where you're like, oh, we're in.
And think about how scary it was, frankly, to know that you were going to go into an experience that was a 12-month kind of away from home experience with a teenager.
I came here to talk to you.
No, why are you still here? If you're gonna ditch me, ditch me.
What exactly did you hear?
Bella Ramsey was incredible with you, and you're like.
And I was like,
in it.
I could tell she was cool. I knew that. She was casting the part before I was. And I don't know how they knew how to put these sort of two pieces in place, but I'm not surprised that it started with Bella. And I couldn't have asked for a more anchoring, generous, thoughtful teenager. And I don't mean to say that in a patronizing way, but it's just the way it is, you know?
Yeah.
They had their 18th birthday while we were shooting, and that just could have sucked.
I know what you mean. If there's any type of not groundedness there, maturity there.
They're more grounded than anyone would deserve them to be in a way, you know? I relied on Bella for so much of the experience, and it was weird because it was easy for us to kind of focus on what we were meant to fulfill and the kind of chemistry we were supposed to have. And we both really sort of scared and shy about that. But I guess Bella just inspired me to be mature about it psychologically in a way.
I know what you mean, because sometimes these questions ask of you like, did you have the best time with your co-star?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm gonna tell you like the version that you probably want to hear, which is like, yes, I did.
Yeah.
But like, there's the other version, which is like, you're experiencing this thing together that has like levels to it.
Totally.
And sometimes someone's gonna come in a subconscious way or in a conscious way with a specific mood, and you're gonna have a mood, and you're working together.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can pull out the performances that y'all pulled out together between you two. You have to have a full range of experience together. That last frame when she's looking at you to see if you're telling the truth,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's a whole journey lived together.
Yeah.
All shades.
Yeah.
That's badass.
Yeah. It was cool. I will say that I really don't think I've met anybody like Bella, in that I was truly sort of inspired and humbled. They brought the best out of me as a person.
And that is the journey that Joel goes on.
I know. I hate to give it to them, but like...
Yeah. I mean, and the symbiosis is, they have their own, growth from that experience too. That's why this stuff is so strange to me sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
you work with like a deer or something, or like an animal, or like a young child, and it's so scary because you're like, they'll tell you if you're fake every time. If you're a liar, like they'll tell you every time.
Yeah.
That's gnarly.
Can I ask about Ali?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, in the most fulfilling way, your characters are sharing the screen and a part for so much of it. How much proximity did you have with one another through the experience before you actually had to confront each other as characters?
We worked on tangential things. We did Tuca and Birdie together, but we never were in the same room. We didn't even do like a big press tour because Tuca and Birdie was mostly her and Tiffany Haddish. Ali was just someone that I always kind of like looked. I remember when her first special came out, Baby Cobra, I was like, whoa, who is this person? And especially for an Asian American voice, I was like, yo, we needed you so bad. And I remember reaching out to her, and we connected here and there, but we never really hung out or talked to each other much. What's really fun about Ali is that she is my inverse in a lot of ways. And, when we were approaching shooting this, I would always notice that like, we kind of had like different entry points for the same thing, but we would end up at the same place. And I was like, ooh, this is gonna be really interesting. And a very yin-yang situation that way.
All your hard work paid off, right? You're fulfilled.
Why do you care?
I just want to know if I gotta get to where you are.
I think a more naive, less experienced version of myself, younger, I would have like tried to force some sort of chemistry or like, like let's hang out and like let's do the thing. But there was this level of professionalism there too that felt like Ali was going to take care of her side, I was going to take care of my side, and then every time we come together, there's going to be this like interesting tension. And we weren't doing any like method things because like in between takes, what I love about Ali is she'll like pull you aside, pull out mics, and just like talk shit. And like not about people, but just like talk shit. And that
talk shit about people.
Oh yeah, we were talking shit.
Love talking shit about people.
We were talking mostly shit about people. But like creating that environment that, frankly, I'm not personally used to. I experienced that type of environment on Walking Dead, and then afterwards, I kind of like maybe to connect it to
this is the first episodic television that you've done since The Walking Dead.
Which like in some ways TV, like you do have to submit to family. Right, you're just there for a long time. Whereas film, I feel like you can kind of like live in your isolation and then leave.
Right. Really is brilliant writing, because the two opposing figures of your show finally end up, in nature together, on nature. Where was it on the schedule? Did you guys, was it towards the end?
So the schedule was gnarly because we block shot most of the thing. And so you're sitting there like, one day is like, I'm doing a scene from episode 5, 8, and 2. And I'm like, what the hell is happening?
On a day?
On a day.
Oh man.
But the thing is it kept us honest, and Lee Sung-jin, our writer and creator, he wrote something airtight where you could just enter in and like it works. But episode 10 we shot
Don't even tell
by
me.
itself.
Okay.
We got to say like, this is just for episode 10.
That's
and
very smart.
And Sonny directed it.
And where in the process of shooting was it?
It was at the very end.
Okay.
Yeah. We like saved it for the end.
That's smart.
Yeah.
It translates.
Right?
Yeah.
And we just had a time. We just had a great time.
Well,
and
it's so dropped in at that point in a way that it has to be for the story.
Yeah.
I'm begrudgingly giving it to the writers. Because when I said that I hate to give it to them, I wasn't talking about Bella, I was talking about the creators of the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting them super sick and high together was like bringing them to their knees in a way that
total submission.
Total submission, physical, out of the ass, out of the mouth. Out of the mind, out of the heart, submission was really the only way it could go, and it was so
well. It mirrors.
achieved.
For me, I look at that your finale in the same way, leading. Having known the story, like leading to this. I'm doing this for a reason. I have a mission. I have a goal. You're just tagging along, or I have to deliver this good. And then to like take that whole arc and land it in that last episode and then like make that turn where you become conscious of what they're gonna do was amazing. And you haven't seen it? You crushed it.
I haven't.
You haven't seen it? You fucking crushed it. Pedro, you crushed it. Hell yeah. Congrats.
Thanks, man.
But yeah, like you can see the lived in, it didn't feel like chummy. It felt very lived in.
We both have good finales.
Yeah.
Aren't we lucky?
Yeah, super lucky. Super lucky. Super lucky.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, excellent.
I saw it all up until it's just this bizarre. I haven't done anything for that amount of time before, and so my attachment to the experience is something, and it's a strange thing. Kind of later, as a guy who's pushing 50, like to feel this very, very kind of like innocent, semi-angry. Emotional attachment to an experience that is over, It continues, I understand, but like there will never be another sort of like meeting Bella for the first time, working with Craig, with the entire crew, my friend Coco who did my hair, and the whole sort of like family experience of it, which we've had in the past, but this was something that I haven't been able to let it go in a weird way. And I don't like getting kind of emotional about work. I think a lot of effort will go into a kind of sort of detachment, because the practical issue is that you never know what's going to happen. Things change, different people, different places, from one thing to the next, And this one has been like, it's different. And that could just be because it was 12 fucking months.
It could be, and it also could be, I relate to you in what you're talking about as coming over here. Feeling like an outsider, living in the gap, like seeing.
Still.
Yeah, same. Like I'm on this gap rail and I can't leave, and experiencing life from that place and the humanity that comes from that place. And then in that same way, I got to experience Walking Dead, where like the luckiest thing for me is if I had been on a show, I think, especially at that time as an Asian American actor, where it was rendered, the show was rendered in the world we know, I would have had a slot. There was a slot for me. But we got to experience it in a world that was completely devastated and society was broken. And so there was no rules.
Like reinventing itself.
Reinventing.
Totally.
And our cast, all the time we'd be like, none of us would be friends in real life.
Right.
In this
in a world that wasn't broken.
Yeah. But we're all like deeper friends now. I'm so deeply connected to all the people I experienced that show with. And I wonder if you're touching a similar thing. With a post-apocalyptic world. You see people for people at that point. And that's pretty fucking
There is like
cool.
a crossover energy, in terms of what the narrative is and like and what your brain's relationship to the experience is, because the crew, we were all just so close.
And was that deeply healing for you? Or same. I feel
it
that
really
same
was.
way.
And like we all kind of fell in love, I think. It was like falling in love. I have to say this because I started The Walking Dead when it premiered on AMC, and I remember just noticing you and being like, this is going to sound really obnoxious, and like I'm trying to sign you or something like that. But
I'll take all this. Thank you.
5%.
Yeah,
Everyone
all
else
right,
is
I
taking
got you.
10.
Oh, that's not bad. I'll take
I,
that. Okay,
I only need
5%. All right.
and then we'll talk about 10.
Yeah.
But I was like, that guy's a star,
Oh,
and
man.
to engage your attention in something that is such a world, it's such a genre, and it could have been sort of like the character could have just easily worked without somebody who the camera just drinks in and is like so charismatic.
Thanks.
So starting there, I've just been kind of unsurprised and drinking it in
Oh, man. I'm surprised.
thereafter. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I don't know if this is what it feels like for you, but like the journey continues to be a self-effacing one in a way. Like that's kind of what I mean by your graciousness, is that I don't see judgment in your performance.
I see.
I see like real love in your performance. When I think about Mandalorian, people could get really trapped by that role, meaning who among us is brave enough and also I don't want to like gas you up too much, but like selfless enough.
That's what we're here for, I guess.
Is this what it is? Like gas party?
This is fantastic.
But like selfless enough to go, I'm gonna enter this character that might not have my face be seen, and then still land it in a way that it doesn't trap you. It doesn't like these characters are kind of part of your journey as opposed to these characters eat you.
Your observations are so good. What a word. What a fancy word. Good.
That's great. That's the best word.
Which I'm sitting here and trying to take that in, but the only thing that it's making me think is that that kind of intelligent and astute observing is has so much to do with like what I see you do, and it helps me actually understand what it is that is so engaging and watchable, and which, not to limit it to any of that, but Beef is a perfect example of somebody who has just so much shit going on.
Yeah.
You know, so much, not in a world that he's not being chased by zombies, he's not flying a ship through the galaxies or any of these things, but there's just so much danger within the averageness of his life and the generosity of sharing that in the performance with us, being able to fulfill it, but ultimately like sharing it and inviting us into all of his intimacies, all of his self-loathing, all of his guilt, all of his rage.
Yeah.
How many people have been like telling you their road rage stories? Because I have one.
Really? Do you
it
have
happened
one?
yesterday.
Oh my God, please.
This is not a lie. I promise you.
I had one yesterday too, actually.
Really?
It's just weird.
Yesterday was a day.
Yesterday was a day.
There was something going on, and I was in the car from 11 in the morning to 11 at night yesterday. So it was my fault. I've had like 3 kind of incidences.
All right, that's fair.
They've all been my fault. But yesterday, I cut somebody off to get out of their way.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
I didn't like cause an accident, but I was like, I saw an opportunity. I got in. This person really didn't want me to do that. I got out of his way and then got into the left turn lane, and he was like, she, I don't know, I didn't really see them, laying on the horn, and I was like, get it out. My little sister was next to me in the passenger seat, and I was like, yeah, you know, that kind of thing. And then I hear her go, oh my God, and I look over, and there is a big glob of saliva, like, just like somebody, like visual effects put it there, man.
Damn.
It was, and just dripping down the side of the passenger window. And my sister was like, fuck.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So like a glob from the driver's side, he just like honked a hard loogie at you?
Spit at me.
What did you do?
I was in shock.
Right.
It didn't trigger any kind of rage out of me. It triggered like, whoa, I guess I really crossed the line. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I thought I was just getting into the left-hand lane. It absolutely kind of humbled me and shocked me, scared me a little bit, disturbed me, didn't make me angry. And I, you know, I'm quick to anger.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if like your consciousness about like not like reacting to that negatively is you recognize that that person's trying to connect with you in some way. You know what I mean?
They want me to drink in their saliva.
Yeah,
Literally.
like they just spit like
It
their
made me
fluids
feel
at
guilty.
you.
I was like, gosh, you know, people are going through shit.
Yeah, especially yesterday. I got flipped off yesterday.
Dude, yesterday
Yeah.
was crazy.
It was a crazy day.
We're gonna turn the whole actors on actors into a discussion on Los Angeles traffic. 'Cause
it was
really
nuts.
And the Matrix aspect of it, I was, you know, watching Beef, and with this sort of like envy in terms of how much it reflects such a livable truth, a living truth, you know, in day to day that can happen anywhere, but was happening to me yesterday in Los Angeles.
Yeah. The task is always as difficult as it can be to not abandon your character. To like really live in their reality and like.
How do you approach that? Like where do you start with something like that?
I really look inward. I start inside. I go, where am I? Where is the part of me that deeply understands this person? Where is my Danny?
Right.
Where is that part of me that like feels isolated or alone or cringe or gross or whatever? And I would walk up to set every day being like, fuck, I gotta do what?
Right.
I gotta like get dropped from a tree and everybody's just watching and I look pathetic.
Yeah.
And like,
Was that challenging, or did you see it as an opportunity to kind of like lean into the richness of that?
when I was younger as an actor, I always, and as a human, I was always like, why are things happening to me? And, you know, growing up and kind of maturing over time and then also getting to do this work, you're like, oh, things are happening for me or through me. And I might have warred against being dropped from a tree like that and like hanging in front of everybody and just like looking super pathetic and dumb. I remember constantly saying like, I see Ben Stiller. I see what like Meet the Fockers must have been like just to get shit on the whole movie. And it was this thing where I had to use my own shame that I'm sure was connected to Danny in that way where you're like, don't ever bail on Danny, don't ever bail on yourself, don't ever bail on you know, people. I think that's the thing is like it's easy to bail these days, especially if forever, but like it's really easy to bail.
Totally, and not look at things.
Yeah.
You know, I think that I underestimate the kinds of things that you need to confront so that you can fulfill an assignment.
Yeah.
I love the kind of ugliness / vulnerability generally in characters I've seen you play, and also, you know, bringing kind of a layer of humanity to something that is sort of a silhouette of heroism, you know? I'm curious about how much you have to deal with yourself to, like I said, fulfill an assignment.
Yeah.
And because I don't like actually dealing with myself very much, you know?
Same.
I don't want to cause harm.
No.
I don't want to, you know, I don't like drama, but gosh, I'm not into challenges. I think I'm not. I don't know.
But you keep throwing yourself headlong into them, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
you know, the way you approach Joel, the performance that I saw the whole time was like to have this depth of like pain, guilt, shame, sadness, everything just repressed down that you could just stand there in the frame and it goes, that says everything. And that's a lot of internal work.
Raiders attacked the hospital. I barely got you out of there. We'll find you some new ones on the way.
Are people hurt?
It's kind of fun to have the permission
Yeah.
to like feel everything, contain it or express it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm super envious of a part like yours in Beef, and the idea of like, I was listening to your show's creator, and it said, yes, we know Steven is amazing, and we know he can do everything, but you still haven't seen everything that he can do. And here is a range that has always been there that not everyone is aware of. And
Thanks, Sonny.
but it's
Process
clear
is
though,
really-
like I admire you very much.
Same. And I think there's like a congruent, not similar process. Everybody has a different thing, but like I really understand what your process might be. I really admire what you're doing because it's not, because there's a technicality to this job where you gotta do. There's a base layer of like what you gotta be proficient in. And then after that, it just becomes like a study of yourself. It becomes like at least for me, it feels like a study of yourself, which then as you go deeper into yourself, you realize it's everyone. I remember Andrew Cooper was our set photographer who is like, only does like movies for like Scorsese and like Tarantino. And he said he's never done a TV show. He's like, I'll shoot your show. And we're like, why? We're like, dope, we got Andrew Cooper to shoot our show. And I was like, oh, he's gonna show up like once or twice, snag some things and then leave. He was there every day.
Wow.
And he was just watching us. And I would just talk to him. I was like, at one point I was like, Andrew, why are you here? And he was like, I'm watching you guys. And I'm seeing what y'all are doing. And I remember him telling me, he's like, nah, like I see what you're doing already, but I love it. Don't bail on Danny.
Wow.
And that was really amazing for me to take that in, like.
And to be seen also,
Yeah.
because something that occurred to me when you were talking about, process, but also just basically, playing your character and how as richly as you can, and how lonely it can kind of be, because all of this work sometimes in terms of the function of a set, time, lighting, I don't know, social dynamics that can overwhelm the energy of the experience, but you still have to do your job and be super vulnerable and get along and do this kind of social activity and also very specific work. And so it can become, in terms of, I don't know, maintaining a certain amount of concentration, one, two, just being in tune, like you say, and not bailing on the character. It's easy to bail, like we've already identified.
It really is.
But I didn't realize it could be, because I cared so much about acting my whole life, and I was like, and I have way too much I have too big of an ego and too much dignity, like that it doesn't matter how bad it is, it doesn't matter what it is, I'm gonna give it 100 and whatever percent, no matter if the camera's on me or off me. And then with age, I realized in some instances I've gotten kind of scared where phoning it in isn't necessarily, but I can feel like I'm not in it, and I don't know how to get in it, and I don't know what I haven't done or what I need to do to get in it, other than just sort of like breathe, not bail, and kind of let all the feelings of be and be present and everything like that.
And have those performances ended up being like some of the ones you watch back and you're like, I liked what I did there. I don't know how I did it, but I liked what I did there.
I have been watching less and less.
Same. It's almost the experience itself, right?
Yeah.
Like it's I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
And it isn't about, I don't like watching myself, because I really am conflicted. There's so much more outside of you that goes into making something, and you want to honor and take in everyone's work. But that feeling that I get when I see myself, it takes me out of the experience in a weird way that I just don't have the patience for. Anymore. I remember an episode in The Last of Us, and I'm dying in bed, and I'm on a dirty mattress, and I'm at the very beginning, but I know that the whole rest of the episode, like I'm not in it. I was like, I finally get to enjoy this, show, because I'm not in. I was like really excited about that one premiering and turning the lights out and like turning my phone and like phone off and watching it, So anyway, the thing that I was trying to get to in terms of like how special it can feel, like somebody like Andrew Dominic, just kind of penetrating the loneliness of the experience a little in a way. It's like the psychological loneliness of it, and making you feel like it's not in vain. And of course it isn't, because we all get the camera is taking it all in and we get to see it, but still it can be edited in a way that you don't, your performance can be editorialized in a way that you have no control over. You really kind of have to give it absolutely everything, and then give it up completely. You know?
The
so
first
it's nice
viewing
for
of things,
on the day for somebody to be like,
totally.
I see you.
Yeah, that's right. Like Andrew Cooper, that's what you're saying. Andrew
Yeah,
Cooper, he really, like, especially the guy who is seeing you, like who is like, you know, he's seeing you, and he's seen so many things. It was really cool.
That is cool. You deserve it, man. He knows what he's looking at.
Oh man, he was incredible and like so integral to that process. It makes me just think about what it is that we do. Maybe I shouldn't have asked that. Maybe we should cut that. That's an impossible question. But how often does the day shape the performance, and how often do you let go to whatever the day is having you experience, even if it's not directly correlated to what's on the page? Like sometimes I'll walk in and I'll be like, I feel fucking bummed today.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but that works.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
And there's this subconscious process that happens, I feel like, that I'm not always aware of, but like you were saying, like...
I think it's so smart to lean into the subconscious process, because I'm inclined to kind of control the experience. And the very painful growing experience of letting go of expectation, and for the benefit of the assignment, you know, of the role, of the performance, like realizing that you got to let go of the fact that we're losing the light, or that there are all of these different elements that are obstacles out of your control, and just kind of go with it. I almost feel like I need to talk to you beyond this conversation, so that because I have more questions in terms of like, Steven, how do I deal with when this is happening?
Oh, I don't know. I just get things happen.
You know what I'm getting at, though, like, right, where you're when you say kind of like letting go, there's so many different ways to sort of figure out how to have not the best experience, but just find the most practical way to fulfill an assignment.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel like where I got extremely lucky, and I've been very, very lucky my entire career, is that I got to work with this particular director, Lee Chang Dong, who basically, we were about halfway through the movie that we were doing called Burning. He was just like, a movie makes itself. And I was like, okay. I was like, I don't know what that means, but okay.
Yeah.
And I would just watch him set up the pieces and then just like go, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And then know when he's not trying to control anything. Like I remember we did this one scene where like, it's this like dusk scene that we only had like a 30-minute magic hour window to shoot every single time.
Yeah.
And we shot that over the course of a week. We shot it, he watches it all back, and he's like, I'm gonna do it, we're gonna do it again. So we go the next week back and do the same thing, and then all of a sudden, one of the takes, a flock of geese fly past reflect off the window pane. He's like, that's it. And I was like, okay. I mean, like, that's not available to everybody.
No, of course not.
But
rarely, yeah.
Yeah, but that, I was like, oh, I see. Sometimes you just, actually, most of the time you're just dealing in letting go.
Yeah. It's so funny how hard that is.
So hard.
It's
so hard. Because you're just like, time is out. Like, do you have has that happened to you on Last of Us? Like things where, so out of your control, but then you're like, that made this show better.
Yeah, there were so many elements that were physical in terms of locations and light and weird weather patterns that weren't expected, and places where every year there's been snow and there wasn't, and you know,
and it's perfect. It's like, it never snows here, but it snowed on that one day that we needed to shoot.
Right. Yeah.
That's
we didn't have any of that.
Okay. Damn it. It was just all fucks. It's like, fuck.
12 months of like, shit. Oh well.
I'm a huge fan of what you did in Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. You look like you had a fucking blast.
I had a really good time. I really did.
I don't know anyone else that could have carried us as an audience through that journey.
Talk about an emotional experience, because that was the first job that I got during the pandemic, and it was also kind of like a ticket out of a very isolated place and into a world that you were afraid was disappearing in a way, in terms of basically going back to work and being around people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that it was also hilarious. And the homework for that, for me, I was born in 75, and I started taking, I was less than 2 years old when my family made it to, we got to Texas first, and you said that you guys, did you get to Canada?
And then Canada, yeah.
Canada from Korea.
Yeah.
And then from Canada to Michigan.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Are they still in Michigan?
They're still in Michigan.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because we haven't even gotten into the whole like sort of bilingual,
that reality and
yeah,
understanding that comes from that. Yes.
Being completely, like, as we would say in Chile, total gringos, and also like just afoot in so many different worlds, and how that informs the things that we do, and how it informs it in ways that we don't even fully understand yet. And anyway, I just like love sitting down with you, and I relate to you in so many ways.
Oh my God.
And it has a lot to do with that, I think. But back to The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
My joy was your joy. Like watching your joy on that film was like I was just like grinning ear to ear watching you.
That was totally the point. I felt that way, growing up watching an actor like that, who kind of was breaking all the rules and informing us in his way, like what can be done on camera as far as commercial, independent action.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everything. He was still like, no matter, uncompromisingly sort of making choices.
Yeah.
And I started to take that in at a really, really young age. So it was very weird that was like the closest thing to myself that I'd ever done, outside of the billions of dollars and the illegal weapons trade that the character was involved in.
Right. I'm so glad to meet you now.
Me too. I've been watching your whole, I'm sure you were doing stuff before you got Walking Dead. I feel like you started in you were.
Well, you know what was cool?
Like you do comedy, you fulfill, like, we haven't talked about Minari, and and I just I'm a big fan.
Oh, same. And I feel connected to you because I remember when you did Game of Thrones, we were at the same Comic-Cons.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, man.
So I've just been, admiring your work.
On the journey together.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Me too, man.
Yeah, so good to
Same.
Oh, man.